You are looking live at the Nasdaq from 2017. This is 2017. And let me see here. I'm gonna go back a little bit towards January. There you go. Because you're in 2017. Some people are asking me about, does the Nasdaq have to pull back to the 50? No, it doesn't. And can the Nasdaq just, grind higher all year? Yes, it can. And it's done it before. This is 2017, where we just had these little pullbacks to the 50 all year long. And we didn't have more than like a 4 or 5% correction for the entire year. It just kept doing this all year. And we have, I think, pretty nice conditions right now where the interest rates are they're steady and the economy's pretty good. So we're not looking for, well, at least I don't know. I'm not looking for much lower rates. We might get, like Powell said, 3 cuts this year, but the economy's good and the rates are stable. So we have a pretty steady and consistent market here. And I think we could, the question was, could we have something like this where you just buy the dip all year? Yes, we can. Do I think we will? I don't make predictions. So we just take it one day at a time. So far, it sure looks pretty good for the Nasdaq. I mentioned that this is a daily chart of the Nasdaq from today, and I mentioned that whenever it gets over that 6%, it wants to come back in a little bit. Today it got above 16,000, just pulled back in. A lot of your stocks made new highs and then pulled back today. I'm a little cautious ahead of inflation data this week, ahead of earnings, and just just a little caution. That's all. And we can see since January started, which is right here, yeah, we had these little pullbacks, right? Nothing too dramatic. A couple day pullback here, a couple days, and just pulling back to moving averages. So you want to keep your eyes on the moving averages. Now, I said that the Nasdaq was it got over 7% above the 50 today, and it closed 6.2% above its 50 simple moving average. You can see that right there. And it doesn't have to come back to the 50, and it could just trade sideways around 16,000 and allow these moving averages to catch up because they're rising quickly, every day. So a market or a stock can correct through, price or time. And so this is where we're at. I mean, I expect more of a pullback, 48 points today, 0.3%, a little lighter volume. It closed at 15,942. The Nasdaq looks fine. It's just a little stretched here. So you don't want to be greedy. You want to sell into strength, take some profits, trim, buy something nice for Valentine's Day. Maybe later on in the week we'll get an opportunity to dig into some stocks once it pulls back a little bit or allows these moving averages to catch up. So don't be, too anxious to be buying, into this stretched market here. I got to show the Russell today because the Russell was the leader, and I talked about earlier that at some point it's going to decouple from the rates, the 10-year yield, and this to me looks like a really nice pattern here on the Russell consolidation, like a base on base pattern, and this actually here, this pattern, the latest one looks like a nice, cup with handle pattern now bouncing up the moving averages, and looks to me like the Russell, the small cap, wants to trade higher, and that's good. We want the rally to broaden out, not just rely on the Magnificent Seven. I did mention the yields. 0TNX is the ticker, and you can see it. This is ticking up while the Russell's ticking up. So they've kind of decoupled from each other. You can see we had it was up near 5, then it came down below 4, and the Russell rallied. Now the last 4 or 5 weeks it's rallied, and the Russell's starting to rally. So the rally in the indexes and the stock market starting to broaden out to different stocks. Anyway, that's enough with the indexes. I trade stocks. There was a bullish note out on Apple today. The Vision Pro, you can see the double bottom base pattern here, but this thing's going nowhere. It's got no growth. Maybe if the Vision Pro, turns out to be something, or they do something in AI, but for right now, this is just treading water. I don't like my stocks treading water. Microsoft definitely trending higher. You can see the moving averages and the relative strength line trending higher. So Microsoft looks good, even though it pulled back, $5 today, big deal. Once again, Meta, this was up a lot today and then pulled back. Still closed a little higher. But this thing was up to 479. Yeah, there's $11 off of its high. But that's the way the market was. Caution ahead of the inflation data and ahead of earnings. So, and the market's stretched, so you got to expect that. Amazon as well made a new high, pulled back, closed near the low of its day. 20% of its daily range. Google, this is a stock setup that I like. But I like it closer to the 10-year. Just had an inside day today, but definitely one that I'm watching. And the last one of the what do you call them? Fab Five, Super Six. How about that? Is the NVDA, which was really ramping today. It was over 740 at 746. I got an alert there, and it just pulled back with the general market weakness and closed 30% of its daily range. Still up on this session, but down after hours. I'll get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about ARM first of all, and this one has been going berserk. On Thursday, it gapped higher after earnings. It was a 40, more than a 40 billion market cap move there. Yeah, 47%. Remember, NVIDIA tried to buy this company for 40 billion, and it was nixed because they thought NVIDIA would have a monopoly. Well, ARM went public and had this nice little IPO base, and it looks a little on the daily, you can barely see it, but that's a nice little IPO base. Pull back to moving averages, just blasted higher last week. Now, if you look at the revenues here, 800, 806, and the growth 14%, pretty good. But they're doing what? 3 billion in sales, and it's got a market cap, of 152 billion. Like I said, it added an SMCI in one day. So, but the market's all about buyers and sellers. So if there's more, buyers with overwhelming demand and overwhelming the supply of the stock, which is 82 million in the float, the stock's going to go higher. And you can see the volume today was 110. There's only 80 million in the float. It's trading more than the float. So ARM is one to be mindful of. And this is why we don't ignore these earnings gaps of 47%. The high that day was 126. The high today was 164 2 days later. So this thing is a very strong stock, but and there's just more buyers and sellers. So I would expect this one to go higher over time. Even though you might want to say it's overvalued. You're going to hear that a lot when the multiples contracted, when the Fed was raising interest rates, the multiples contracted. You never heard anybody scream about stocks being overvalued. Now we have the multiples expanding with the anticipation of, lower rates and a little easier money, and now everybody's screaming stocks are overvalued. That's the way it works. They go lower than people would ever think, and then they go higher than you could ever imagine. So that's just part of the market. AMD, I mentioned that I like this this pattern here because it's finding support at the 21, and now it's pinching in, trying to break above the downtrend line here. It did today. It looked like it was going to have a nice day and just pulled back with general market weakness. It was up to 177, just really cooled off. Closed 18% of the daily range, but I still like AMD here to make a move higher later on in the week. And I would leave it on my ready list. MRVL's on the ready list as well. It got knocked down last week with NVIDIA, encroaching on its turf, but I don't know. I think it was much ado about nothing. You could see the big consolidation pattern, the pullback here, and now it has recovered from last week's, or it's just last Friday, I believe. Yeah, last Friday's trip to the 21 EMA. Broadcom was upgraded today and still went down 18 bucks. It's just a little extended, like the market. You can expect pullbacks. And what you want to see with pullbacks is where are your stocks finding support. So that's what pullbacks are good for. add-on entry points and where are my stocks finding support. I'm gonna go to software now. Monday reported today on Monday, of course, and it was nothing wrong, nothing bad about the report. It's just a sell the news type of thing. The CEO did say the macro environment was a little more challenging, and they did raise prices, so they don't know how that their clients are going to respond to that. But anyway, you can see the consolidation here. The real, move higher got really stretched there. 37% above its 30-week line. So, it had to come in a little bit. Just, buy the rumors, sell the news. Just came back to this old buy point today and then bounced. It bounced pretty sharply. I was impressed, because it came down to 197, then finished at 212. So that's a $15 bounce. So that's a nice 7% move for Monday. So to me, that still looks good. I mean, I know it's a little wild action for him, but that's what happens during earnings, right? You just got to let it settle down, calm down. But to me, the numbers were good, and the stock still looks good. Datadog, they report tomorrow morning. So if you own it or if you didn't sell it and you're going to hold the earnings, good luck to you. This one's a little closer to the base than Monday. You can see this big base here in the buy point, and it's not stretched out like MNDY. You can see the difference here, how high up that thing was. Yeah, 37% above it's the 30, or Datadog is not nearly a stretch. I'm not saying that it's going to fly higher. It's still 25% above the 30, but and it's 5% above the 21. So we'll just see what they have to say. I have a feeling they're gonna have good numbers, and if it does sell off, just see where it finds support, like Monday found support. Today, maybe Datadog sells off, finds support, and later on in the week takes out the old 136.07. We're just gonna have to wait and see. That's tomorrow morning. They report. Palantir had this powerful move after earnings report last week, and it really lifted the software sector. Friday there was some profit taking, but up again today, 2.75%. Then it crossed above the 25, and it closed above there. So Palantir definitely looks good, looks strong. And Cloudflare reported Thursday, had a nice day on Friday, closed near the low of the daily range, and give back some more today, a little more than 1%, not a big deal. But that's a nice gap. Once again, this is out of a base. This is not way extended from a base. This gap was out of a base. So it's a lot different than being already extended and then gapping higher. You want them to be a little closer to the base. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit here. This is GigaCloud, and I thought that, man, maybe I took it off our ready list. I believe I did. I thought I did. I don't know. I'd have to look at it, but I thought that maybe this 26 something 45 could be a buyer. But man, this is getting extended now, up 7% today. Talk about being stretched out a little bit here. That's 25% above the 21 and 14% above the 10. So this one's going to have to calm down, but it is trending higher. Super strong stock. You can see the moving averages, the relative strength line just trending higher. This one wants higher prices. If you listen to their earnings report, the conference call, very positive story here for Giga Cloud Technology. Let me see, what else would I have here for software? I think that's it for software. I'm going to go to the home builders. Lennar, this is one that we have on our ready list, and it's just consolidated for a long time in a flat-based pattern. I like it trading tight near a moving average. The closer you can get to that moving average, the better. And it popped today, 3%. I still think that's actionable, though, at the 155 area. And you can see this, this is why I like them near bases here. You can see this base right here, boom, blast higher. Now consolidated for what, 8 weeks? Yeah. And maybe it's ready to move again. So Lennar looks good. Toll Brothers. These are more like luxury homes. This one's in a flat base pattern as well. It's got that 105.91 buy point. Once again, this thing traded tight. If I zoom in here, trading tight down to the 50, rallied through its moving averages and made a nice move today. 4.3%, but to me, it's still actionable. A move on volume, but the first move, probably not the last one. And then Dreamfinder Homes, DFH, Building Residential. This one's still consolidating within the base. Undercut the 50, now rallied through all of its moving averages here. I like it as it breaks above, this downtrending line here. And up on volume today. So Dreamfinder Homes looks good. Let's take a look at it on the weekly. Yeah, you can see this cup and this pullback here just looks like a handle. It's 7 weeks of consolidation, but just kind of looks like a handle. Dreamfinder Homes looks pretty good to me. Biotech, I gotta go to the drug stocks and the software stocks sold off today a little bit. Some money was flowing towards the energy stocks. I'm gonna get there in a minute. This is Iovance Biotherapeutics. I know it's an under $10 stock. It's a speculative name, but I just got to point it out. It's up 8% today with volume. You got to pay attention to that. Like I said, it's a spec stock, but trying to break out of this stage 1 base here. That's a nice cup with handle and blasting higher. So technically, that one looks pretty good. Viking, VKTX, another one that I believe is a good buyout candidate. Anyway, it's got this cup, 1 week pullback, and now just blasted higher last week. Today was up nearly 4%, adding onto its gains and staying above that $30 level. Definitely a speculative buyout candidate with the good weight loss compounds. And then Novo Nordisk, nothing burger, just a little pullback. It broke out of that base, moved higher. They had earnings and they bought Catalent. And so, it ripped up to 120, and it just holds there and allows these moving averages to catch up. This thing looks fine. It's a slower mover. It's not a real go-go stock. It's just a grinder, and it's just grinding higher. As you can see, the moving averages are trending higher. So as long as those moving averages trending higher by the day, by the week, by the month, you're making money. So, just relax. That one looks fine. Okay, FANG, not FANG tech stocks. FANG is Diamondback Energy, FANG, ticker symbol. They made a purchase today of a private company Endeavor, and trying to get a bigger footprint in the Permian Basin. They're in that Midland, Odessa, Texas area, up nearly 10%. Usually when you acquire a company, you pull back a little bit because you're spending to grow, but this thing popped on real strong volume here, and you can see how long this has been consolidating. The energy stocks have not had any love for a while, and so definitely one to keep your eye on there. Yeah, it's been a year and a half for Diamondback, so definitely one to keep your eye on. Matador is another one. This is the oil and gas U.S. exploration, Texas, and this Matador's in Texas, Louisiana. FANG, Diamondback's trying to get a bigger footprint in the Permian Basin. Anyway, these things have sold off for a long time and look, possibly, maybe, might, break out of a long consolidation period. Anyway, Tidewater is a field services stock, and this one undercut its 50, now rallied back above its moving averages. So definitely one to keep your eye on. And Weatherford as well, undercut the 50, went down to the 200, rallied back through. This is when Saudi Aramco said that they're going to, cut back on their capital expenditures. Anyway, that one looks okay. That's it for me today, except for I fib. I got a bunch of stuff here. One is I got to acknowledge Bitcoin. I normally don't talk much about Bitcoin, but it was traded over 50,000 today. I think it's still above 50,000. And this stock is Marathon Digital. It was jumping around in pre-market. It was lower 3 or 4%, then it went up, and it closed today up 14%, which is always a nice move to start the week. Thank you very much. With volume. So Bitcoin this stock really just trades pretty much with the price of digital currency. MSTR is a software name. This is what's the guy's name? David Saylor, I believe his name is. Anyway, his company ramped 11%. Definitely trades with the price of Bitcoin. These guys are always trying to purchase more Bitcoin as much as they can, get their hands on. RIOT, another financial services stock, up more than 9%, trading with the digital currency markets. And then Hut 8, oh man, this thing has been sold off hard and trying to break out of a stage one consolidation, up 8.5%. That thing's got a lot of work to do just to get up to its moving averages. Anyway, I wanted to get to the after hours part because there were some good earnings reports tonight. I think the headlines look pretty good, but they're selling off. And this looks like buy the rumor and sell the news. And this is what I'm talking about when stocks ramp. This is nowhere near a base, right? And it's run hard and it's making all-time highs here. And then they report, well, yeah, they're going to pull back. I'm not saying it's going to base, but it could pull back to maybe the 21 there tomorrow. Maybe even further, below, I don't know, the 50, maybe, I don't know. The 21 is a 264, and it looks like it's about there after hours. So definitely watch this one. From the headlines, the earnings look pretty good, but it's always about guidance and the conference call and what they have to say about business going forward. So Arista, the initial reaction is lower, and we're going to look for perhaps a buy point tomorrow if it bounces off a moving average. But the headline looked pretty good. Lattice, once again, I think the headline looked good. Their guidance might have been weak. Yeah, it's down. Oh boy, nearly 8%. And it's way below its 200 here. So this looks bad for Lattice Semiconductor. CDNS, this is a design, should affect ARM because this is a computer software design for the semiconductors. It's down more than 6%. It looked like the headline was pretty good on the beat, but I'm just going to have to go through the reports and have more information tomorrow morning, so I could kind of decipher what's going on here with these after-hour moves. I don't put too much credence into after hours. A bunch of yahoos trading, and but profit taking is expected when you're making all-time highs into the print. Let me see. What else do I have? CAR. Speaking of all-time highs, this one's down 3% after hours as well. And then waste management. This one doesn't move much. Yeah, okay, it's up a little bit. I wanted to talk about Deckers because Deckers, it gapped higher out of this base. You see, it's in a base here, and then it ripped higher, pulled back to the 51 time, which was the gift. And then it ran up to an all-time high, after it had an earnings report. It was already at a high. It had an earnings report ripped up to like 903, but it can't sustain it, because there's no base here. I mean, I imagine it'll trade higher, but it's not like ARM where it's just coming out of a base and popping higher and higher. It's giving some back because it's just extended here. You can see the last base here was back in October of 2023. So it's been running a little bit here. That gap out of that base was October 27th, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, it's getting extended. Whereas ELF is another retail name where it has this big base here. It formed this big base, pulled back to the 131, then ran up to the 164. And they reported last week and sold off hard, nearly 5%, which is just a buying opportunity as it pulled back to a moving average. Today it made a new high and then gave some back with general market weakness, closed it near the low of the session. But to me, as long as those 10 and the 21 are trending higher, the stock's going higher. It's still 2% above its 10, which is what, 168, and going up, nearly 75 cents a day. So it's not going to take long for it to catch up. The moving average is to catch up there. The 21, it's 5.8% above the 21. So that's the kind of trend that you want. And I like my stocks to be near bases and trading tight, not too extended like Arista Networks that we saw tonight. Just a little bit stretched here, kind of like the Nasdaq, just a little stretched. And so I'm like I said, I'm going to read through these reports from Arista in cadence, just trading at all-time highs and not really near a base as they report earnings. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you for watching. I'll have more tomorrow morning at mcstockcharts.com.